This is not a test. This is your emergency broadcast system announcing the commencement of the annual PURGE sanctioned by the U.S. government. DNFing books for any reasons have been authorized for use during the PURGE. Books that are not in the included category for the video have been granted immunity at this time and shall not be purged. Commencing at the siren, any and all DNFing will be legal until the end of this video. Bookstores of any kind will be unavailable until the end of the video until the PURGE concludes. Blessed by Barnes & Noble, indie bookstores, and all other booksellers, a nation reborn. May God be with you all. We are back. I feel like the last purge went very well. It went very, very well. We got rid of so many things and also found 3 new favorite books, which is actually crazy. I think we're ready to start the second vlog and finish up these Illumicrate books. I originally thought I was going to have the November Illumicrate book in this video, but I believe as long as it stays that way, if we get to the end of the video and things have changed, we'll read it. But the November book is probably going to be our January 2025 book club pick. So I'm going to be reading it relatively soon, just not for this video. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 books left. So let's actually go to the shelf. It's crazy that we're almost finished with these Illumicrate books. We have Last to Leave the Room, which I'm pulling and I'm going to talk about it in a second because I actually have decided what we're doing with that one. And next up that we're going to be reading is The Principle of Moments. But we have The Principle of Moments, To Cage a God, Of Jade and Dragons, The Phoenix Keeper, A Dark and Drowning Tide, Mistress of Lies, An Academy of Liars, and Until We Shatter. So next up we have The Principle of Moments. So first of all, I wanted to get a jump start on our Illumicrate video while I was gone over Thanksgiving break. So I did pick this up on audio, and I have the Kindle of it as well. I did not like this. I did not like this. I did end up DNFing this one before 50 pages. It was just not my vibe. It was very boring. I did not like the weird science that was included in this. I have pet peeves when it comes to science related things, and I didn't vibe with it. I didn't vibe with it. It felt very gritty as a book, and you guys know I do not like gritty books. I just did not have high expectations for this one to begin with, which is sad. I like the Invocation, so it's kind of like high expectations for Evernight, but this, unfortunately, I did not enjoy. I did not enjoy, and I don't like the cover, so I'm not that upset about it. So this one is going to be a DNF and a goodbye. And that moves us on to the next book that we are attempting to read, and that is Principle of Moments. I am quite nervous about this because this is one of their sci-fi picks, and I have yet to enjoy an Illumicrate sci-fi pick, which is why I skipped December 2024. It's my first ever skip for Illumicrate, and I skipped it because I did not want to read it, and I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to be better about skipping, and I wasn't super excited about any of the items either, so I'm like, okay, this is the perfect time to skip. So I'm nervous. This is time travel, which I'm not the biggest fan of, and it's an Illumicrate sci-fi pick, so I'm very nervous. Like, I'm very, very nervous. So I don't know how I feel about this one, but we're gonna give it a shot. We're gonna give it a shot. I'm gonna give it the old college try. I'm pretty nervous about this, but we're gonna give it a try. And then if this one doesn't work, we're probably gonna move directly into Cage of God, and I will do an update for both of them if this doesn't work. If it works, then you'll see me after I finish this book. I'm hoping that's what it is. I'm hoping that's what it is. This is one of our other spare bedrooms in the house. Normally you see me filming in the one that has all the books like surrounding the bed. That is our first spare bedroom. And then this is like the parents' spare bedroom. This is where my parents and my in-laws will stay when they're here. It's actually funny because it's bigger than my bed. Like, this is a king size bed. My mother-in-law was the one who bought our furniture when we moved into our first house, and she was like, I want a king size bed. And I was like, if that's what you want, you're the one who's gonna have to buy it. And she did. She bought it. And it's a really nice set. It's a very, very nice bed. But it's so light and bright in here. There's just no books. So I'm like, I'm always trying to film somewhere where you can generally see books, but this is a really pretty room. And it's got like really nice quiet vibes in here. So I figured those would be a really good update room. So let's talk about the major first update. I feel like this is the first update because I kind of talked about the Last to Leave the Room, why I DNF that, but this is like the first real update. And that is for Principle of the Moments. I think I like it. I am like 100. I'm just holding this because it's in one of those book jacket things. I am at like 150 pages, about 130, 150 pages. I think I like it. I'm struggling a little bit with it, but I'm also liking it at the same time. It is one of the strangest reading experiences that I've ever had because it is a bit difficult to follow, but the writing is so good that I'm loving that. And I already like am obsessed with some of the characters. I'm on some of the other ones. It's very strange. It's very strange, and I'm a little worried that we're about to go downhill where I'm at right now. So the book started off with, we have two main characters, and they pretty much have two completely separate storylines going on at the beginning of the book. It was a bit jarring how separate they were. So one of the storylines was taking place in 6066, and she is a human who has been enslaved by this race of aliens. They basically live on this like labor planet where they're mining stuff and putting stuff together, etc., and they are treated horribly, and she is trying to find a way out to get off of this planet. And they're on this planet, these humans are on this planet because originally they came from Earth, which was like 97% uninhabitable. They found this planet, and then the planet was taken over by this like dictatorship person called Thrasin, I think. Thrasin. We have her storyline of her trying to figure that out. And then in the other storyline, you have Obi, and he is in 1812. And he is a time traveler, but he has an illness where anytime he time travels, he loses a piece of himself. Like most time travelers, this doesn't happen to, but it does happen to some, and it's almost like this like weird virus thing. And you have to be anchored in a spot. This is where I start, it starts going over my head a bit. I don't fully understand the science behind these things, but like I don't fully understand the anchoring. I think you have to be anchored to a specific location, and that's where you go back to, I think. And then you have things called artifacts, which link to different areas because you have to have an artifact to travel to certain places. And you find these artifacts like they're like lost through time, I think. And Obi's whole thing is he is a time traveler like his dad, but his dad left. He's been traveling around time to try and find his dad, but it's left him in this like half cyborg state because he's like missing an arm, he's missing an eyebrow, he's missing part of an eye, stuff like that. And so he decides to come back to 1812 London, his anchor position. I love his story is my favorite. I love this whole thing because it feels so tragic and beautiful, and like I said, the writing in this is so good. So in his storyline, his point is that he is trying to find his dad. He's trying to cure his illness, but he's also in love with the second in line to the British crown, who will eventually be King Augustine, and he is the second son, I think, of George, or he's the second, one of the grandsons of the Mad King George, the one who lost the Americas or whatever. So that is that whole thing, and they have like this tragic romance, and I love it. I love it. It's written so well. So that's his whole thing. And then, like I said, her whole thing is she's on this alien planet trying to escape, but she finds out that she is like this girl relating to this prophecy, and she has to do something in order to save something. I am being vague because spoilers, and because I don't exactly understand. And this is what I'm talking about because I love parts of it. Her story I'm not loving as much as his, and unfortunately the point that I just got to is their stories have converged in her timeline. So I was hoping she would come to his timeline because I'm actually liking the 1812 vibes better in that world. I think it's easier to understand. The stuff in 6066 is way more complicated, way more politic heavy. So it makes sense that he's the one who went to her time. But I really like it, but I am confused. Like I am struggling to keep up with all of the concepts in this because there's definitely some conceptualization things happening, and it's hard to visualize some of the other things happening. And there's no like science in this. There's nothing like concrete to really grab onto and understand. It is all heavily made up time travel artifact things like that happening. So it's just very hard to grasp. And some of the stuff is a little bit confusing. And I don't know if this was like a mistake by the author, but she keeps bringing up when Obi was left by the dad, and she has said different ages. And I don't know if I just misread it or whatever. I think it's 10 years old. She said 10 a couple of times, but 8 years old was also brought up at one point, and like there's weird timeline things happening that I think are also accidental. Like it's almost like she was having a hard time keeping track of the concepts in the book. So I'm enjoying it. I'm gonna keep reading it. I just don't know how much I'm gonna comprehend by the end of the book. Back with a very sad update. I was at like page 130 and I got about 40 pages further into this, and do you know how I was talking about how they kind of like were moving our character from 1812 to the future, and I wasn't super excited about that? Yeah, it pretty much went downhill from there. So not only do we have a plotline that I don't really understand, but now we also have majority of our storyline taking place in the future and in space and with aliens. And I don't like aliens. I used to skip the episodes of the X-Files that specifically were aliens. I don't love that. I don't think I just like space related books that much. Like the sci-fi that I like is like AI stuff, robots. I do like time traveling. I think I found that I like time traveling. I didn't think I did, but I think I kind of do. Just not relating to space, because I was loving the 1812 timeline. I was absolutely obsessed with that. But now that we're primarily in the future and in space, I've just lost any interest in this book whatsoever. And again, the problem is that it just also still doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't care about anything that is now happening in this book except for the romance between Obi and George, which has pretty much been removed as well from the book. So I'm not happy about that. I just think this was it tried to do too much. It's like 3 books in one, and it tried to do way too much in here, and it just needed to simplify things and simplify concepts, because it seemed like this author couldn't even keep track of the concepts that they put in this, and that is very unfortunate. And so because of all those issues, and I still don't exactly know what's going on, and the reasons I was reading it have now been removed from the book, I am going to DNF it, because arguably I don't think this is a bad book. It's just nothing that I enjoy reading, and nothing was keeping my interest, and this does have like not that many ratings, so I don't want to read this and know I'm gonna give it lower than a 3-star. Like, it's not getting higher than a 3-star. There's no way with how this is going, because I'm already like 180 pages into this book, which is almost halfway, and I can't see myself liking it anymore. I can only see it going downhill. I did skip to the end and pretty much confirmed that the romance takes like a major backseat. I think if this author were to write a romance in the future, I would be 1000% down for reading that. Or if they focused on a different aspect of sci-fi and not like space sci-fi. I feel like the only space sci-fi I've really enjoyed are definitely more young adult books. Super easier concept things, just because when it gets too high concept, I don't know. Maybe the problem is that it had time travel and space in here. Maybe it was just too many things, because I definitely like space things, because I really liked the Aurora cycle. I liked the Illuminate files. I liked Crown Chasers. I liked, what was it? Heart of Souls? What is that one called? It's the Ashley Poston series. Sci-fi that I generally like better is like Annie Bot and Ready Player One. Those kinds of sci-fi things where it's more AI styled, but I have like space stuff. So now I'm like, is it less the space stuff and more just the combination of everything together? And that's why I don't care? It's a weird one. I just think a lot of things were not done well in this book, and it really needed to have basically another set of revisions, and it needed to be dialed back on how complicated the plot line and the theories and everything in here are. And what really killed me for this one is I thought this was a standalone, and I was like, okay, I can make it through this one book and be like, okay, fine, 3-star, whatever. It's a trilogy. And I just do not see myself caring enough about this book to finish it and then have to read 2 more books whenever they come out, because there's not a date as to when they're coming out. So yeah, the thing about this one though, I think I'm gonna keep this one. I know this is a weird one, but I think I'm gonna keep this. And if my interest is piqued, I don't know. I'm so torn on this one, because I didn't hate it. I really didn't hate it. I just don't think it was well plotted out, which is why I'm so tempted to keep it, because like, what if books 2 and 3 are better plotted out? Like, I'm really struggling with this one, but am I gonna pick it up? Like, I'm already 180 something pages into this one. And the point of this is to DNF or read it. I'm so torn on this. I think I'm gonna keep this. I don't know. I'm gonna have to sit on this one for a while. This is gonna be let me think about it. Maybe I'll go back and read a couple more chapters while I'm working on the other books in this video and see what I think, because I really, really am torn about this one. So we'll see. I might try and continue reading this while I read some other stuff, and this may come up later at another time, but I think I'm gonna try keeping this. We'll see. This is a weird one. So anyway, this is currently on the back burner. Unsure what I'm gonna do about it right now. So then I did already pick up To Cage of God just to like see how I was feeling about things, and I hated this immediately. It's the opposite. Like, I feel like Principle of Moments is giving me pause because I actually do like the writing style a lot and I like the characters a lot, but the actual contents of the book are a struggle. This one, I don't like the writing. Like, immediately did not like the writing. And apparently no one does, because it's got like a 3.3 or something on Goodreads, which is pretty low. And this one just kind of makes me sad. I just immediately didn't love anything about this. So this one is going to be a DNF for me. That was pretty easy. And then we are moving on to Jade and Dragons. We're going to attempt this one. Again, have not heard good things about this one. I also have an Owl Crate copy of it, so I might just read that one if it's like easier to hold. Wow, this looks like a huge book, but it's actually not that big. The words are massive. Maybe I will read this copy. It'll make me feel like I'm getting through things quickly. I also do have a Kindle copy of this one, so that should help me get through it at night. I feel so weird. I feel weird. This is the first time I felt this weird about a book situation. So I may still continue this one somewhat, but most of my focus will be going to Of Jade and Dragons, and please let me like this one. This video is going so poorly. I thought the last one was going badly. This was going significantly worse. Okay, you're gonna hear my fan. I am hunkered down because I refuse to go this whole day without finishing a book. Like, because of how bad this vlog is going, even worse than the last one. I am refusing to get through today without reading most, if not all, of the book that I'm currently reading. And we'll talk about it later, but I did DNF Of Jade and Dragons already. We'll talk about it later, okay? I'll do a whole better clip for that. But I did end up picking up The Phoenix Keeper. I'll insert after this me picking it out of the video and stuff, picking it out of the shelf or whatever, just to, you know, the vibes, for the vibes. But I pick up The Phoenix Keeper. I'm obsessed. I'm literally obsessed with it. So someone said it's very similar to The Spell Shop and Emily Wilde's, and there was another one thrown in there, and I 1000% agree. It is so much like The Spell Shop. If you like The Spell Shop, so far, so much like it. The main character is just like so similar to the Spell Shop character, where she's like this kind of like, it's what I didn't like at the beginning of the Spell Shop, but I have a feeling it's gonna get better. And this character, Ayla, is significantly less offensive than the Spell Shop character at the beginning. But it's like this super introverted character who wants to do what she wants to do, and she's just super unfriendly to pretty much everybody. But she has like this soft spot for books and for animals and stuff, so it's so similar to the Spell Shop. And the romance is already like, it's not immediate, which I am absolutely loving. There's like almost like a fake romance, you know, it's not the real romance, like from the synopsis, but it is the tension is good. It's good, it's so much fun, and it's hilarious. This book is so funny because she's a zookeeper and she has this really mischievous bird that she takes care of, and the bird is so funny. It reminds me so much of like the cactus in the Spell Shop. Yes. So if you like the Spell Shop, at least so far, I would recommend it. I read 70 pages this morning, and this is, again, once I finally pick up a book that I'm like, yes, it makes so much sense where my brain is at. Like, now that I'm reading something I'm actually enjoying, it's like, oh, okay, it makes sense why I DNF the other ones. Because after you DNF book after book after book, you start really questioning if you're DNFing because you don't like the book, or you're DNFing because it feels easier, or you're DNFing just because you don't feel like reading. But like, now that I've picked up something I actually like, it's like, oh, yeah. So yeah, I'm definitely, now that I'm like picking up something I enjoy and I'm having such a good time, I am definitely going to be DNFing and getting rid of my copy of Principle of the Moments. I did try to pick it up again after I DNF'd of Jade and Dragons. I was like, Jade and Dragons is significantly worse than Principle of Moments, so let me try Principle of Moments again. Read another 20 pages. Nothing. No, I could not tell you what happened in those 20 pages. Like, absolutely nothing. So I was like, oh no, maybe it is just me. Maybe the reading is just me. So I picked up The Phoenix Keeper, kind of expecting to immediately hate it, just because that's how I've been so far. And I love it. Like, I'm loving it. So clearly, it probably is the books. For me, at least. I can see other people liking these books are very subjective. But yeah, it's the books that I'm reading. That's the problem. So I'm loving The Phoenix Keeper, having a great time. And I really hope I come back and say the same thing. I literally do not want to put it down. And I have to go do chores and things. But I literally don't want to put it down. So we're going to keep reading for a little bit. And then I'll finally go be productive, which is lame. And I also have to fit my workout in today. It's like a kickboxing thing, which is something I actually enjoy doing. So yes. And yeah, so that's kind of the update. I'm loving The Phoenix Keeper. I will have a better update later about what happened with Of Jade and Dragons and more explanation about what The Phoenix Keeper is. But for now, I'm just gonna sit here and enjoy myself and not think about the fact that this is for a booktube video, because sometimes that can hurt the reading, is this is like for a job kind of thing. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm just gonna have a good time, probably make some lunch soon, clean, etc. I will update you when I get further into the book. Okay, so I have reset this up. My face is so close. So close. I have reset this up for aesthetic purposes, since I kind of got mad and went rogue. So I did reset this up. So like I said, we read Last to Leave the Room. This was a pretty quick DNF. I was just really bored. It's not my type of horror story that I like reading. Then, this is not in order. I think Principle of the Moments was next. Yeah, Principle of the Moments was next. This, I was potentially going to keep reading, and I did pick it up again after I said I DNF'd it for 20 pages. And then I was like, oh, I'm just gonna keep it because maybe I'll just continue reading it. Nope, we're getting rid of it. This is how we get into trouble. I'm DNFing it. I'm getting rid of it. Next, we had To Cage a God. This was just not my style of fantasy, not my writing style. Then we moved on to Of Jade and Dragon. This is the one that I feel like we're on, that I haven't really talked about. So we're going to talk about Of Jade and Dragons, and we're going to talk about The Phoenix Keeper. So let me switch to a more comfortable position. Okay, so Of Jade and Dragons, I very briefly mentioned that I did DNF this and that I did not like the writing style. Out of all of the books that I tried to pick up, this is probably written the worst. It's just very childish. I don't understand how this didn't go through. I feel like more edits, and the editor didn't catch that this is it's just poorly written. I mean, it really is. It's just poorly written. I could not get past the writing to actually notice if the story was good. I don't know if I could really tell you what this is about. But it opens up, I believe, with our main character, and we're in this like steampunk kind of universe, which sounds really, really cool, but it was written so poorly. I feel so bad if people like this one. Like, I hate coming on here and saying I don't like books. That's what's been so tough about these DNF videos, is I know there are people out here who like these books. So I hate coming on here and being like, this was garbage. I hate that. And I hate saying that just about any type of writing of anyone's work, because books are just so personal to the writer that, like, I never want the writer of this to see this video. I would never tag a author in any of my reviews unless they are positive. No, absolutely not. So for this one, it just felt very young. It felt very, very young. Our main character, just the stuff moved so quickly at the beginning of the book. It was so strange. Like, we open up the book and there was immediately a death, and immediately dealing with that, and immediately figuring out there was this big secret, and all that happened within like 20 pages. And I hated that. It moved so fast, and it was just very stilted writing. And just, again, it felt like the very first draft of a book, like the first draft. This just needed to go through so many rounds of editing and just like more uplifted, I guess. I don't know how you would call it, but just more better writing. I don't know how to say it other than that, but it was just too simple and stilted for how it was. I don't know how else to say this because I just don't really want to talk about it. Like, I DNF'd this very early before 50 pages. Okay, the one that I want to talk about is The Phoenix Keeper. I finished this. I'm going to give it, I'm so torn on my rating. This one could change by the end of the video, which is why you should always watch the end. If you watch nothing else, just watch the end of my vlogs. Because I always recap and say what my ratings are, and sometimes they change. For now, I'm gonna give it a 4. I love this. This is so good. This is the type of cozy fantasy that I'm absolutely obsessed with, and it just had a lot of really good messages about conservationism, and it was just so good. My problem and why it's not a 5-star is our main character, again, suffered from the same issue that the character from the Spell Shop had, where the Spell Shop character was just very angry and took her anxiety out kind of on other people. This character was worse than that character, and she didn't stop doing that until pretty late in the book. Like, I was getting really frustrated with her towards like the 200-page mark. I was like, girl, you got to start being nicer. Like, you're coming off as incredibly selfish. And that was kind of like part of it. It's partly to explain that people who have this social anxiety, like this anxiety that's different from just shyness, and how it can affect their social life and affect them as people, how it can affect their friends around them. And I thought that was done really well, but to read 250 pages of that, it does start grating on your nerves, and you do start thinking, girl, you need to get your shit together a little bit, just like a little bit, and at least treat your friends nicer. Because that was really pissing me off, is how she was treating Tanya in part of this book. Luckily, I mean, we did have a resolution to that. It got better, but it's hard reading from a character that does come off as pretty selfish and very self-absorbed, but it's not like her fault. That's why it was so difficult. If she didn't have the type of anxiety that she had and she was just like this, I don't know if I would have made it through the book, because I would have hated the character. I mean, that's how bad she was sometimes. I also think the romance did not start soon enough. I love a slow burn, and I liked that this was very slow burn. However, I mean, the romance really didn't kick off until like the last third of the book, and you needed a little bit more earlier in there. I wanted a little bit more pining from both sides, because I just didn't get that. And I don't think this is a romance. Like, I feel like it kind of says it's a romance, because even the back is falling and love never burns so bright. This really isn't about the romance. Like, the romance is definitely in there, but this is more about friendship, and this is more about social anxiety and learning how to overcome some incredibly difficult challenges that a lot of people suffer from. And I mean, the friendship was, I love the friendship aspect of this. And then there was like a little bit of the romance in there, but it was more about our main character becoming who she can be when she puts her mind to it and doesn't let things get in her way. And I loved that. So I would not say this is a romance. I would say this is just a fantasy with a cute romance thrown in there. Now, I really wish that this was going to be a series. I don't think this is going to be a series. It doesn't need to be a series. This is a definite standalone, but I think this is one of those series that could be like an Emily Wilde situation where you don't need more books, but it's like this cute thing where like each book could be her discussing a different species of an animal, or like continuing with what she's doing in here. Because in this, I don't remember if I told you what was happening in this one, but our main character, Ayla, she is a zookeeper at this magical zoo, and she is trying to help with the breeding program for this type of phoenix that is going extinct. And that's like the whole thing. Like, there's been drama with it and poachers and all that type of stuff. So it's just a really, really great, fun time to read. So I feel like you could do more books just taking place in this zoo, even following other characters and what they're doing. I would love that. Like, I would love the next book to like follow Tanya, or even follow Luciana, or literally anybody else in the zoo, and you could just make this a whole series. Or even just follow Ayla again and her helping other people or continuing with the breeding program. So I wish this was going to be a cute, cozy series, but I don't think it's going to be. But yeah, 4-star. I'm so happy I read this. I love this. Yeah, another huge win from Illumicrate. It's crazy. It's like books like this that I'm like, oh, I can't cancel Illumicrate. Because because I never would have read this. Like, I had not heard of this book. I heard nothing about this book except it came in this box, and I am so happy that I read this. So it's just like one of those weird situations where you're like, well, dang, well, dang, this like stops me from canceling. But then I have 1, 2, 3, 4 DNFs. Like, what outweighs what? 4 DNFs, 1 4-star in this video so far, and we've got 4 books left. Oh god, there's 4 books left. I'm so behind schedule. I'm so behind schedule. This was a chunky book. This is a 467 page book. It was a chunky book, but I did get through it pretty fast because I couldn't put it down. And I feel like that's what distinguishes this book from the DNFs. Like, I was questioning my DNFs, and then I picked this book up and I was like, yes, there's a reason I DNF the other books. So looking at our shelf, we have Dark and Drowning Tide. Let me put you over here. We have Dark and Drowning Tide, Mistress of Lies, An Academy for Liars, and Until We Shatter. So we are on a Dark and Drowning Tide next. I am quite nervous about this one because I have not had good luck with Alison Saft yet, but we're gonna hope that this one is better than what I've read from her so far. So let's get into A Dark and Drowning Tide. Okay, so I do have some updates. I'm so depressed. I'm so sad because I know a DNF when I see it now. Like, I know it. I know it. I started losing focus in this video, but then I read The Phoenix Keeper and it was like, yes, I get the DNFs. I understand the DNFs when they need to happen, and this one needed to happen. This needed to happen. I don't even remember how far I got into this, but I don't think it was very far. I want to say I got about 50 pages into it. I think I got about 60 pages into this book. And it had some promise. It had some promise. I love the idea of this story, but I hate the execution. And it is like for the opposite reasons that I hated their book, A Fragile Enchantment. So this is following our main character. I don't even remember her name. Literally don't remember. Lorelai. Following Lorelai, who goes to this school, which if we had kept it in the school, I would have probably liked the whole book. But is going to the school and has this rival, and Lorelai is just known as not being of like good breeding and of a different class of people. It's very classist, it's very racist in this book. And so she doesn't expect anything, and she kind of has to deal with like the wonder kid who is good at everything and is picked for everything and is just obnoxious. And so it's definitely going to be like the romance between those two. But it opens up with her kind of wrangling the wonder kid into going to this meeting because they're both part of this very exclusive expedition group. And they're about to pick who's going to be like the co-lead or like the just under the lead who is going to be managing a bunch of stuff. That's kind of what it is. And so I actually really liked the first chapter and getting to know the characters immediately. But then the second it gets on the ship, it completely lost me. Like, I could not tell you who any of the characters are because there were so many mentioned. There were so many things thrown at you. It was so overwritten and pretentious and obnoxious that I was just like, I can't read any more of this book. Which is sad because, again, it has some really, really cool, eerie, dark, gothic vibes at the beginning. And then it just like went totally downhill the second you got on the dang boat. And again, A Fragile Enchantment was the opposite. This is so overwritten. It's like she saw all of the comments about A Fragile Enchantment because it got panned. She saw all the comments about it just being so underdeveloped that she went from underdeveloped to immediately overdeveloped. And like giving too much at the beginning and not enough just like time to explore the characters. And like also the main character, her only personality trait is angry. Like, that is her only personality trait. That is the only thing that stuck out even remotely, is that she was angry at every single thing and she just angrily spoke to everybody. She hated everybody. And I feel like, again, it was trying to, because everyone doesn't like her, but it really sucked seeing her as like this angry person. And I didn't love that. I didn't love that as being her only personality trait so far. I'm sure, again, that changes throughout the book, but I just didn't care enough to continue. So next up, we did start the next one because that was a pretty quick DNF last night, and we were busy Christmas decorating last night, so I was kind of like getting up and down, sitting down, reading for a little bit, getting up, so I just didn't update. But I put that one down yesterday, and then I picked up Mistress of Lies. This is the one that I was really, really excited to read, but then I saw it had like a 3.33 Goodreads rating, and I was like, And then I also saw that Becca in the Books read it and gave it kind of like a so-so. It was just kind of existing as a book. And I feel like that is the best way to describe this book, is that it exists as a thing. Oh my gosh, that is the first time I've seen my neighbor's dog, and it is a horse. So again, we just moved here. Their backyard is kind of like at an angle, so we just don't see their backyard that much. This is like one of our spare rooms that I've turned into like a mini library while we're building my library. My husband saw the dog because we got a package for them. So he went over there and gave it to them. And he said they had he said it was like a Great Dane, but that looked like a Mastiff, but I didn't see it long enough. Oh my gosh. So a horse, it was huge, but he said it was really cute, but I hadn't seen it yet. So I just got like a glimpse of its back, and it could definitely just sit on Taz and squish him. But I love big dogs. I actually originally wanted big dogs. The only reason we have a small dog is because my husband's family has always had small dogs, and now that I have a small dog, I love the small dogs. They're also very easy to take care of. If he's mad or anything, I just pick him up. I could not pick that dog up. Anyway, that is the best way to describe this book, is just so, it exists. This thing exists as a book. It is so, again, it was kind of like, you know what? It kind of reminds me a lot of A Fragile Enchantment, where it's just like 2D characters. Nothing in this world is developed. The magic system is fine, but like sometimes you'll be reading and you're like, that doesn't make any sense. Like that's literally what it is. So we're following our main character, Shan, and we have two main characters. We're following our main character, Shan, and she does feel like more of the main character, and she is a blood worker who is the lady of a household, and she is trying to basically find a way to potentially I'm not really sure what her goal is, to be honest. Like, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, do I know what her goal is? I don't think I know what her goal is, like, still, and I don't think she knows what it is. And so she's trying to do something. So she goes and finds somebody who is our other main character, Samuel, who is not a blood worker, or as they call them, the unblooded. And they are seen as like second class or even non-citizens, and are used basically as fodder for the blood workers. And so it's his story and her story intertwining and them doing something. Like, that's, I am unclear exactly what the point of this book is. And I am 118 pages in, and I am going to be DNFing this one. And I only got as far into this as I did because I don't want to get rid of this book. I really don't. This is probably my favorite design that Illumicrate has done. I don't want to get rid of it. And I'm really debating not getting rid of it. Oh, there he is. I can't tell what that is. I literally can't tell what that dog is. I'm normally pretty good with dogs. I cannot tell what that is. It's big though. It's the prettiest cover and things that I've ever seen. Like, not this cover, not that cover, this cover. I could care less about that one. I don't want to get rid of it. It's so beautiful. Part of me is really tempted to put it next to my copy of Emperor the Vampire and just pretend it's like an Emperor the Vampire thing, because that's the vibes. And like, look at that. Like, that is literally the vibes. The vibes are Empire the Vampire. So I might not get rid of this. I really might not. This is like the first book in a long time that I haven't liked, but I'm still debating on keeping, especially a DNF. Like, I've kept 1 stars before for reasons. I don't know if I have any of them anymore. I have Bless Your Heart. I kept Bless Your Heart because I could see myself potentially liking the second book and continuing on in that series, just because it had some moments, but overall was terrible. Yeah, I'm not happy. Really, really not happy. Okay, we're moving on to the last 2, and I'm really mad because I was hoping for it to pan out at least like the first video where I would have at least 3 books read. I was hoping obviously for more and loving more of them, but I was hoping for at least 3, and I have 1. I've tried to read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 books, and I have 1 that I've read. I liked it a lot, but that's 1. That's 1 out of that many. And then I have 2 left. And both of them are rated so lowly. Arguably, they are my 2 that I'm most excited for out of this whole video. But I have heard nothing but bad things about this. So the ones that we have left are An Academy of Liars. Am I holding up? No, I was holding up backwards. An Academy of Liars, which I also love, and Until We Shatter. Academy of Liars, I have loved a book previously from the author. I really, really liked House of Hunger. I thought it was fantastic and exactly the type of horror that I like, which is almost like non-horror to a lot of people. And I have expectations for this of it not being horror. I feel like that was a lot of problems as people pick this up and it's not horror. Apparently it's more fantasy. So a lot of horror readers potentially pick this up, and it went out in the Evernight subscription. So I feel like this got picked up as a horror just because of the author name and less because of content. Because when I read the synopsis, it sounds like a fantasy to me. So I'm going into this with the expectation of like a dark fantasy, hopefully. And then I have read a Kate Dillon before and loved it. I think it was Mindbreaker, or is that the second one? There's two books that sound very similar, but I have the second one too. I bought the second one. But yeah, I have loved a Kate Dillon before. So I am hoping, and it seems like it's similar lines, it's sci-fi and stuff. So I am hoping that I just really like this author's writing style, which I did in the first book, and then I ended up liking this one. So we're gonna attempt these. We're gonna attempt these. Okay, we're gonna try An Academy for Liars. Pray that I come back with just like an update saying I'm enjoying it. Remember I said I was hoping that I was going to come on here with a really good update for An Academy of Liars? No. I pretty much agreed with what, like, I have to not touch this table. So I'm actually have this, like, on a table. This is a terrible idea. This table moves a lot. An Academy for Liars. This is not for me. This is not for me, unfortunately. And it makes sense. It makes sense why it's not for me. This is nothing like House of Hunger. The writing style is different. The characters are so different. Everything is so different from House of Hunger. So I am not surprised that I do not like this book because it has like everything that I don't like. We have, I'm so picky when it comes to dark academia. I thought that I was a dark academia girl. I'm not. Dark academia can be my favorite, but it has to be super specific. And there are certain things within dark academia I really do not like at all. I actually started to think that I'm a light academia fan. Like, is that a thing? Like, I'm liking the ones where they go to like Fourth Wing to me is like perfection with academia, which I feel like is gonna cause some people to have a heart attack. But I love the academia in Fourth Wing, and I love like when there's trial related things within school and just the general basics of school. The Scholomance series, which to me is dark academia, is my favorite thing ever. I don't love when it's pretentious. Like, Scholomance is not pretentious. It's just a bunch of kids running around school trying not to die. Like, literal perfection. It's so good. This is so pretentious. This reminds me of how, like, The Secret History is written, the Atlas Six, and Babel. Not in content-wise, but just the way that people speak and act at the school. And I don't like that. I don't like that side of academia. I just don't. It's actually one of the reasons. This is probably why. Maybe this is why I don't like that. I almost went and got my PhD. I actually had a spot in a program waiting for me at Wake Forest, and I chose not to. I chose not to continue down that pathway because I did not like the competitiveness of academia, and I did not like the politics in it, and I did not like the paperwork, and I just pretty much didn't like anything about it relating to that. And I feel like that's what all these are. Like, the books that I don't like are like focus on the aspect of academia that I don't like. I think it's more of like I want to go more about like the daily lives. I think that's fun, and some of the classes are really, really cool, but I don't even like how they did the classes in this. And this definitely, again, focus on the more pretentious side of things. So I did get to page 88 before I DNF'd, and honestly, like, the number of chapters or pages that started to relate to like animal testing and that they were testing their powers on these rats, and I was like, I'm stressed. I'm like so stressed that these animals are going to die. And animal death and animal cruelty is 1000% my absolute worst trigger. This immediately, the rat she names him. And I'm just like, I don't want to continue this because that does not bode well. Like, even if he survives at this point, I just don't want to put myself through the stress of that. And honestly, that wasn't the biggest thing. Like, it was stressing me out, but generally, I just didn't love the characters. I didn't love the pretentiousness. I didn't love oh my gosh, our main character. The decisions that she kept making were literally so uncomfortable. I didn't love where I know the romance is going, and I'm sad. I'm sad because I don't think this was like written nearly as well as House of Hunger was, but I think that's mostly just because I don't like the characters. This is a DNF. I'm really upset about it because I had super high expectations of this after reading House of Hunger. We're on to the last one, guys. We're on to the last one. This is sad because I'm not gonna have 3 books read for this. I'm not gonna have 3 books read for this. If even I have 2, because I don't know. Everyone hates this too. This has even worse ratings than the last one. Like, I was looking through the ratings for the Illumicrate books that they've picked, and they're awful. They're atrocious. I don't understand why they are picking these books. Like, you're reading them, right? Like, you're reading them. Like, I feel like we're getting to the point where Illumicrate needs to hire 2 separate people to pick, and they both have to read the books and be like, oh, let's talk about it before we actually pick it, because clearly Illumicrate as a company has a major problem with picking their books. I think where I'm at right now, not including this one, obviously, I'm at a 70% DNF rate. I have bought 44 books from Illumicrate, and I have read 13 of them. Yeah. That's really bad. And pretty much anyone that I watch who is reading Illumicrate books, they don't like them. It's like so random 5 stars and the rest are 1s or 2s or DNFs. So it's not just me. It's not just me. This is like a legitimate problem that Illumicrate has, and they really need to sort some stuff out because they've lost a lot of subscribers. A lot of people in my comments when I do like the unboxing videos, they're all disappointed with Illumicrate regarding their picks, and a lot of people have just quit their service and have continued on with either Owlcrate or Fairy Loot. They really have to get better at picking books, even if it means doing some special edition backlist books. That's what I would even take that. I would take them picking really good backlist books and making a special edition out of that and a box around that over picking stuff that is terrible. And I love how I'm holding this up and I haven't even read this yet, but like, my expectations are below the, like, they are in, I made this joke before, they're in the crawl space. They are so low that I feel like I'm gonna go into this and immediately hate it. And I feel like that's a problem because now we're getting to the point with Illumicrate that if I pick up an Illumicrate book, I am expecting it to be bad. When it's great, it's amazing. It's like a miracle. But I should not be picking up an Illumicrate book and being like, oh, I don't know, this could be absolutely terrible. It's probably going to be terrible. That's a problem. Like, that's a major problem. You know, I'm not doing that for Fairy Loot. I'm not doing that for Owlcrate. I'm picking those up and I'm like, oh, I could really like this. Now when I pick it up in Illumicrate, it's going to be like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Anyway, we're going to finish up with Until We Shatter. I've said it before, but I do have one more Illumicrate book, but it is, oh God, it's our January book. So I won't be reading it for this video. We will be reading it in January though. And I am not getting December's book because I knew I wasn't interested in it and I wasn't interested in the fandoms of the items for that month either. So kind of getting a little nice break. It's my first Illumicrate that I've ever skipped. And I originally was having like a lot of anxiety about it, but now I'm feeling a lot more chill about it. So maybe in the future we will be skipping more Illumicrate books, but we'll see. So yeah, let's get into reading Until We Shatter, and then hopefully I read this, and then I will come back to you with a full update, and we'll go through all the books from Illumicrate over time that I've had and DNF'd, ratings, and my overall rating and stuff for Illumicrate as a box in general. So yes, let's go read Until We Shatter, please. Please, let's go read it. It is a couple hours later. I cooked dinner and I clearly just showered. My hair turns into like the biggest rat's nest like ever. But I feel all clean and happy, and we are watching football right now because it is Sunday night and I am DNFing Until We Shatter. No one is more surprised than I am at this current moment, but I DNF'd it at like 25 pages. This is not what I am used to from Kate Dillon's writing. This is shocking. This is actually shocking. Mind, I think it's Mindbreaker? Mindwalker. It might be Mindwalker, and the second one might be Mindbreaker. It's one of those switched, whatever. First one, I gave like a 4.5 stars. It was so good. And on Goodreads, it's got like a 4.04. And then the second book is, I think it's Mindbreaker, and has like a 4.14 on Goodreads. Doesn't have that many people who've read it, but people like it. This is a 3.46 now, I think, and I get it. I get why this is a 3.4 something. This is horrendous. Like, this is... I am legitimately in shock. I'm looking at the books that we read for this video, and I think this is the worst one. Like, this is actually the worst one. It is so... the magic system and the world building is horrendous. It is terrible. I was having such a hard time keeping track of what was going on, and it made no sense. Like, it legitimately made no sense, and she was like not explaining everything that needed to be explained to understand this super complicated system, because there's like 6 different... I'm trying to think of how to even explain this to you guys. So it's following our main character Semi, I think it's like Cemmy, and she is a half shade, and which comes from the union between her mom, who's a full shade, and her dad, who was a normal person. And that's apparently against the rules. Like, half shades aren't allowed because they suck the life out of the gray, I think is how they explained it. I really didn't understand anything about that or the rules of the gray. Like, they went through in-depth rules of the gray, and they still made no sense how they work, and the difference between like a shade and a half shade, and why a half shade is bad but a full shade is okay to the gray, and what the specific powers are, and why they have powers in the gray and outside the gray, and what that means. And they have like different names, but they're colors. Like, it was so lame. Because you have such a complicated magic system, you gotta be careful about plot holes, and there were already 1,000 plot holes in this book because none of it made sense. They literally, her best friend is literally a green, I think is what she said, and they have the power of like crazy persuasion, and yet somehow they haven't used her power to let them do anything that they want, because they literally talked about her persuading, I think, a blue to construct spells around their entire house, and it's like this amazing place. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense that you have that ability and you wouldn't be using it for the stuff that you need. Because the whole reason she's in the mess that she's in is her mom got sick with a disease that can only be cured by like shade magic. They haven't used the friend to convince a green shade to heal the mom. Like, that's literally all you need to do. And they don't really even give like a real reason why they're not doing it. So even the whole story just falls apart immediately upon just like immediate inspection. Like, you literally go into this and you're like, well, why didn't you do this? It doesn't make any sense. Like, it literally doesn't make any sense. This is probably the worst offender. This is actually painfully bad. The writing is fine. It's the plot and the plot holes and the world building is awful, and the characters, I don't really mind the characters too much, but well, our main character is really obnoxious. Like, she's just kind of like stuck on something, and that's all she talks about the entire like first 25 pages. And it's just people making really weird decisions that make absolutely no sense based on the magic system. That doesn't make sense. So nothing makes sense in this book. If you do not have a good backbone to your book, I'm not going to read the rest of it, because none of it's going to make any sense, because I tried. Like, I kept going. Like, within like the first 5 pages, they were talking about like the backbone of the story and the magic system and everything. And it just got worse and more confusing as the book went on, because I didn't understand the basics of it. And this is probably the worst one that I attempted to read, which is actually crazy. So I'm just I'm feeling so off right now, because I really thought I was going to be able to read at least 3 in this video, potentially more. I thought we'd definitely get through Until We Shatter. I thought we'd get through of Jade and Dragons. And then let me go grab the other ones that are over there. So this is the stack. This is the stack that we got through, and I read one. I read The Phoenix Keeper. Every single other book was a DNF. So let's quickly do a recap just for this video, and then we're gonna go over my Illumicrate spreadsheet for everything. So let's see, this is not in order. We tried to read Of Jade and Dragons. This was a DNF before 50 pages, except we had 2 Cage of God. I didn't really have like really good reasons for DNFing this one. I just wasn't vibing with this one, and it was also before 50 pages. The weird one, Principle of Moments. This was one that I really tried to get through this one. I think, what did we get to? 180 pages, something like that. I tried so hard to get through this one, and this one had some really brilliant moments, but overall this is just not the style of sci-fi that I enjoy. It is way too space opera-y. I just wasn't interested in the storyline of the futuristic stuff. I was really enjoying the time travel and the stuff happening in 1812. But once everything like went to the future, I just wasn't interested in it anymore. I would try another book by this author though. That's also what I was trying to think. Yeah, this author I would try another book by. Then we had Last to Leave the Room. I think this was before 50 pages, probably like 45 pages, and it just did not catch my interest at all. We attempted Until We Shatter, which I DNF'd at about 25 pages, and we just talked about it. It just wasn't good at all. Had so many plot holes immediately within 25 pages, which is crazy. I can only imagine it gets worse, and I just didn't love how this was written, and I didn't love the plot, and I hated the magic system. Mistress of Lies. I'm actually pretty sad about this one. I am gonna get rid of it. I'm gonna get rid of it. It feels stupid to hang on to something just because it's pretty. This one I got pretty far, 118 pages, I think. Then we attempted An Academy for Liars. Just one that I didn't get it. And then we DNF'd A Dark and Drowning Tide. This, I think I got to like 70 pages, 74, 80 pages. I think it might have been 88 pages. And then we have the one winner, and it was a winner. I really, really loved this book, and I had such a great time with this, but we read The Phoenix Keeper. I loved this. It only got a 4-star because we talked about it. The romance needed to start a little bit earlier. It did feel a little bit out of place. It was very obvious what was going to happen at the end, and our main character was a bit harsh too long into the book. That was just a really, really good time. I would recommend this to anyone. This is just a really good fantasy book, so loved it. So that is everything from this video. Now let's talk about Illumicrate as a whole, because we've got some stats. I have spreadsheets for all of my book boxes to keep track of like what I get, when I get, what I rate, etc. So if we have everything in now, we have everything in, everything is finished, we are up to date except for obviously the November book, but we're not counting that. So I have a total of 46. That looks like we have read out of the 46 Illumicrate books that I have, I read 14 of them, and I DNF 32. And this isn't even just from these 2 videos. This has been stuff that's been going on since I first started getting these books. So yeah, and even the books that I read, I didn't love them. My updated average is a 3.55, which sounds fine, but when you consider how many DNFs I have, it should be an average of a 5-star pretty much. For like, if I'm DNFing all that, it should be a 5-star average, or in the 4s at least. So my DNF percentage is a 69.56%, which is so much. That's actually crazy. So going through the books that I actually read, we started with The Wolf and the Woodsman, which is an Ava Reid, and we know at this point I don't like Ava Reid. I gave that a 2-star. The Devil Makes 3 was a 3-star. The Emperor the Vampire, 5-star. This Woven Kingdom was fine, a 3.75, but thinking back on that book, to me it's lower because I didn't love the rest of the series. Then we had Gallant, which was a 5-star. We talked about that. Book of Night, I gave a 3-star, which is much lower for most people. I think for me, it's just I love Holly Black's writing, and I felt it in that book. It was arguably a bad book. But all the book boxes did it. I have 3 copies of that book because everybody was doing that book. It was so highly anticipated. I am excited for the second one. I think the second book is going to be significantly better than the first one, but I give that one a 3. Then we have The Book Eaters, which was a 4.5. I loved that book. Then we had The Luminaries, which was a 5. The Jasad Heir was a 4.25. A Study in Drowning, read that a while ago. That was a 1 star, again, Ava Reed. Then we had The Starling House, which was a 3 star. I just thought it was very mediocre. The Invocations, easily the winner of Evernight right now, is 4.25. I loved that book. Murder Road was a 2 star. I hated that. It was really, really bad. And then The Phoenix Keeper was a 4 star. So the books that I actually read, like, generally were pretty good, but like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those 14 were 3s and under. That's so exhausting. That's so exhausting. But then when you look at the favorites, they're like favorites of all time. Like Emperor the Vampire was my 2nd favorite book last year. Gallant is going to be a favorite book this year. The Book Eaters only doesn't have a 5 star because it needs a 2nd book, and there's no 2nd book in the works as of right now. Like it ended in a way that it needs a 2nd book, so it only gets a 4.5 because of that. The Luminaries is going to be a favorite series. I loved it so much. The Jasad Heir could be eventually a 5 star, and I actually did move it up to a 4.5, so let me switch that. So actually my rating is now a 3.57. So the Jasad Heir, if the Jasad Crown is amazing, will be a 5 star. The Invocations is one of my favorite horror books, and then The Phoenix Keeper is one of my favorite cozy fantasies. So Illumicrate like has the ability to pick these favorites, but overall they're just such a bust. So let's look at some of the DNFs. We had She Who Became the Sun, which is arguably historical fiction with a little bit of fantasy in there. Not my type of genre, and definitely not really what Illumicrate subscribers are looking for. That one was definitely hit or miss. Iron Widow, a lot of people liked, but I did not like the romantic entanglement that was going on in that, so that was not for me. Little Thieves, we talked about. A Marvelous Light, I DNF'd a very long time ago, and it was like, I was reading it and super bored. I put it down and I never picked it back up because it was just so boring. And again, that was more like a historical romance kind of thing that, again, kind of an odd choice for this type of box. River Enchanted we just talked about. Portrait of a Thief, again, kind of very different than what Illumicrate normally does fantasy-wise. It was more of like a heist type of literary fiction-esque book, and again, not my style of book. We All Fall Down had some crazy drama in it. I don't know the extent of it, but it was not good. I don't even think I made it like 3 pages into that one, but there was a lot of issues with that one that they did not catch. The Drowned Woods, bad. I just thought it was really boring. Babel, I've talked about this 1,000 times. Babel is just not my type of dark academia book. I just do not like the pretentious I did not like The Secret History. Like, I just don't like that style of book. So Secret History, Atlas 6, Babel, and An Academy for Liars. I just don't love those. So that was never gonna work. Then we had The Whispering Dark, again, just absolutely bored, and I didn't like the writing in it. The Red Scholar's Wake was bizarre. Again, Illumicrate's choices in sci-fi are questionable at best. The Red Scholar's Wake was one of the strangest books that I've ever attempted to read, and I really did not like it. I didn't make any sense. It was so impossible to follow, and pretty much everyone felt the same about it. After the Forest, we talked about in the last video. Last to Leave the Room, Principle of Moments, Voyage of the Damned we talked about in the last video. I think the rest of these, To Cage of God, Fathom Folk was just legitimately bad writing. To Gaze Upon Wicked Gods, there was that drama with it, but I also just didn't like the writing. Like, even if there wasn't drama, it just had bad writing. Goddess of the River was an odd one, and I will, like, not put too much blame on them, because that was the replacement for the drama with that what was her, Caitlin something, whatever her name was. She was supposed to have a big fantasy book out, and then it turned out she was making fake accounts and bullying people and all this crazy stuff, so they had to very quickly replace her book with a different book, and so they picked Goddess of the River, which is, again, a very different style of fantasy than they normally put in their boxes, and it's just, that's gonna be a very niche topic, but it was not my style of fantasy, so I did not read it. And then the rest of them we talked about: Of Jade and Dragons, Mistress of Lies, An Academy for Liars, A Dark and Drowning Tide, and Until We Shatter. We're done with Illumicrate. We're caught up. We're caught up. I'm exhausted. I am so tired of reading bad books. Like, I'm so tired. I'm so tired. I am not going to be starting this Illumicrate video and probably until January. I think I'm gonna do it in the first 2 weeks of January and just see what I can get through. I need the last 2 weeks of December to just relax and read stuff that I want. I think I'm going to do a mood reading video where I just read potential 5 stars, because I originally was going to do like I won't stop this video until I read a 5-star, but that puts pressure on me to find a 5-star, and I feel like that's not good after doing this video. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. I think I'm gonna just do like a mood reading vlog for a week and just read stuff that I want to read, put it down if I want to put it down, pick it up if I want to, etc. because I need a break. I need such a big break from doing this, because this really stressed me out, because it feels like I'm putting out something so negative, but I also think it's something really important, because I feel like people hold on to things that they don't need to hold on to, and I've been so bad about that for the past 2 years, is holding on to stuff that I don't need to hold on to. And I'm hoping seeing this opens my eyes, especially with the project for next year, how we're gonna read all of our books as we get them. Hopefully that will mean I will try and skip more or even cancel some subscriptions. So that is kind of the purpose of this, is to declutter, get rid of things that are bringing bad energy. And I feel like I've gotten rid of a lot of stuff that brings bad energy. I have a whole empty bookshelf right now, which is insane. That is crazy. So I can bring some stuff that I may actually really like. If you've made it to the end of this video, why don't I give you guys a little sneak peek for the Illumicrate video? So Illumicrate, I have, what is the current rating? The current rating is a 3.72. I've DNF'd 18. I've read 32. So that's already way better than Illumicrate. And my DNF percentage is 36%. The books that are probably going to be in the first video are Hotel Magnifique, The Depths, The Buried and the Bound, which I know a lot of you are really excited about, Revel, Midnight Strike, Silver in the Bone, Garden of the Cursed, Omen of Ice. So hopefully only 3 of those are in that video, and it's like, oh, we're reading everything. Like, that's my hope, is like these videos actually take forever because I'm actually reading things and not just DNFing stuff. But we are still gonna be DNFing. Like, these are purge videos for a reason. I am purging my library specifically to get rid of things that I'm not going to read, because I've had these books for so long now. So I'm excited and I'm nervous to start Illumicrate. My expectations are higher for Illumicrate and Fairy Loot than they were for Illumicrate. So I am optimistic, nervously optimistic. We'll say that. But yeah, I probably won't start this until January. So anyway, that is everything for this second purge video. That ends volume 1. So volume 1 was Illumicrate and we are caught up. So that is the first part of the purge done. Next we are moving on to volume 2, which will be Illumicrate. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like I said, these videos are not for the faint of heart. If you do not like seeing DNFs, these are not the videos for you guys. It's just going to continue that way. So yeah, make sure you subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and definitely so you don't miss any of the future purge videos. Make sure you like the video if you enjoyed it, and definitely leave a comment down below about your plans of reading, and if you're excited about Illumicrate, what Illumicrate books that you think I'm going to enjoy that I haven't gotten to yet. Yeah, it's just overwhelmed. Overwhelmed is the best way to describe this. So thank you guys for joining me in this journey, and hopefully we'll continue for the crazy roller coaster ride that it's probably going to be, and I will see you guys in the next video.